Hey y'all, Daniel Aaron here. Happy full moon to you. Happy rocking, amazing, destiny-changing moon. This full moon is. And if you didn't see my previous video about this moon and the potential for a tiny switch to our trajectory that affects our destiny, you might want to, because this story relates to that. And here's the question. Well, here's one question. What is your destiny? What would you like your destiny to be? What do you know in your heart is really where you need to be headed, want to be headed, need to be headed? What are you here for on this planet? It happened some time ago in a land not so far away from here, that a farmer was out in his early morning rounds just as the sun was coming up like usual, and he was walking along the edge of one of his fields, and he looked down and he saw an egg. And so he picked up the egg and he thought, that's strange, what's it doing here? So he didn't think a whole lot more about it, and doing what he does, grows things, take care of things, he took that egg into the hen house and he placed the egg there in one of the nests underneath one of the hens and forgot about it. Well, time passed, and sure enough, that egg hatched. And when it did, nobody knew yet who was born from that egg. It was an eaglet. Yes, indeed, what the farmer had found was an eagle's egg. Now, nobody really paid much attention or knew anything, so that little eaglet grew up with a bunch of chicks, and it learned to do what other chicks do. So it would peck at the ground for some worm, it would click, 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 clack, 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 and occasionally it would take a few flaps and run and get a few feet off the ground and land. It was an okay life. And then one day, that little eaglet was there in the yard with one of its hen sisters, and it looked up at the sky, and there was this bird, like a majestic soaring bird with great wingspan, barely a flap of the wings, coasting through the sky. And so this little eaglet looked up and said, "Wow, who's that?" And the hen sister said, "Ah, that is the eagle. He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth." Now, in the original version that I heard of that story, what happened was the eaglet said, "Oh," and then lived out the rest of its days doing what the earthbound do. And because we love stories and we are getting to write not only a new history, we are writing a her story now, changing the patriarchal to matriarchal based on feeling rather than dominance, and individually, personally, we get to rewrite our story into the story that we wish it to be. So I invite you to consider an alternate ending to that story, one where that eaglet, which might be us, realizes, actually, I am encoded with divine, with potential that I have barely tapped so far. My capacity for love, joy, accomplishment, for oneness is infinite. And so, that eaglet learns to fly, learns to be its true self. Now, you, I'm guessing, are not an eaglet. So I wonder, to you, if you were to start flying, if you were to start soaring on a whole nother level, what would that mean? What would you create? What would it feel like? And if you're interested to explore that question deeper along with us in our sangha, I'll put some information below. I encourage you to check it out. We go deeper into these kind of questions and a lot more. Because one is knowing what the destiny is. Two is how do we get there? And sometimes We need a little help from our friends to make it go easier, faster, and with more grace and joy. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. May you have a high-flying, beautiful moon.